Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second part of our April For Real Movie Club of Phase 2 Marvel movies. We're
Woo.
talking about Thor, The Dark World, and I'm joined with Tony Mango and Sam Lassio again, and we're about to call Heimdall and head to Asgard. First impression, Sam, what did you think of Thor, The Dark World?
Uh, First time I saw this movie, I said I liked it more than the first Thor. The longer I saw it, the more I realized that there were a lot of problems with this movie. And even though they didn't make me dislike the movie, they still kinda kept me from loving it.
Tony, what were your first thoughts on Thor, The Dark World?
Well, after Iron Man 3, I was thinking there's too much comedy, they're taking this in the wrong direction, and Phase 2 might not be as good. It might be one of those instances where the sequels just don't follow up from the originals. Disappointed in Iron Man 3. Thor Dark World, disappointed. And I was like, fuck, man, we are screwed. Avengers 2 is going to be terrible. Like, they're going to just keep this downward slope going. Thor the Dark World is essentially the parts that I don't like about the first Thor are abundant in this. And the parts that I do like about the first Thor are almost non-existent. Or if they are in the movie, they're twisted in a way that makes it less entertaining. Like, I love the Asgardian aspect, and I don't like the Earth kind of stuff. And what do you do in this movie? You add another character from Earth who is a klutz kind of a thing. And what do you do with Asgard? Well, you try to make it Star Wars. Now, I fucking love Star Wars, but there's something odd about, seeing basically like a speeder on screen and stuff. And for somebody like me that does love Star Wars and does not like things like Game of Thrones, it's weird for me to say it, but I like the opposite kind of twist of that with the first Thor. So, Dark World, you got a villain that's disappointing. You got, like, this is just a huge step down. And if it wasn't for basically one part of the movie, one character, I think the thing would be a huge bust.
Now, you dipped into it a little bit and want to talk more about this movie. As something that didn't do too much in the first movie. In the first movie, we got a little glimpse of Asgard here and there, and only of one other realm. In this one, they're just showing all the realms as much as possible. Hell, the final fight sequence, they're fighting through the realms. Tony, did you enjoy the way they expanded on the Thor universe, more so in this film than they did in the previous film?
Yeah, that was cool. I liked especially how Odin had that one scene where he's explaining part of the Infinity Stones. That was really cool. And that was something that they really needed to do, because once you start building up the idea of the Infinity Stones, people are going to get confused. And fuck, even people that follow the comics are going to get confused. But it was cool to see, that they start this movie off where he's in, I think it's Vanaheim?
Yeah, it was
The
that.
Asian's place.
Yeah, good old Hogan. They're like, Hogan, you're the least popular character out of all this bunch. Stay here. We see what? We see Vanaheim, we see Alfheim, I think, or Svartalfheim.
Svartalfheim.
There's just so
That's
many
the
Heims.
Yeah, that's the realm of the Dark Elves, Svartalfheim.
Yeah, so at this point, after Thor the Dark World, we've seen pretty much all of them except for Muspelheim, Hell, and maybe like 2 or 3 others or something. We never saw the one where Ulick is from, I think. Which I can't remember that one off the top of my head. But, yeah, that was cool to see that, and a wider range of where they're going. But they just had to come back to Midgard for a lot of that shit, didn't they?
Yeah.
And
Sam,
they'll be doing it. They'll be doing it in Thor Ragnarok too, with the Midgard serpent.
That makes sense. At least in the that one, you should go to Midgard. But in Thor: The Dark World, we didn't need to go to London.
Yeah, true.
So, Sam, what did you think about the whole expanding the Thor mythos?
I liked it, except for the fact that really they didn't. I mean, they were on Vanaheim in the beginning, which was cool. I liked the whole killed the rock monster, and he was just kind of like, well, now who wants to fuck with me? But the final fight, really, he was on Earth and Svartalheim. Like, they only really jumped between those two of all 9 of the realms. It's not like they were jumping between all 9 of them. But at the end, you did see with the convergence, all 9 of them lined up. That was kind of cool.
And then DC's like, convergence. We should do that.
One saving grace to this film, and I think actually probably to this whole entire franchise, is Loki. Loki was the man in the first one. He was the villain for Thor. He was the villain in Avengers, and now he's like a villain / helper / I'm gonna still be a villain. There was a lot of Loki in this movie for someone who was supposed to be a prisoner for most of the time. Sam, we'll start with you. Do you think Loki saved this movie? And let's just say that they left Loki in the prison and didn't bring him in. This movie, would this been a bomb?
I think it wouldn't have been a bomb, but I think he definitely helped the movie. Which is interesting because when I saw it in the trailers and in the previews on TV, I'm just like, God damn it. They're just going to find any reason to shoehorn this character into the movie. Like, because he was popular in the Avengers. So now it's just going to be like, hey guys, remember, he was in the Avengers? Now he's in Thor the Dark World too. But he actually was useful. More useful than a lot of the characters were. So I actually did appreciate it, and I still appreciated that even though he was helpful, and the whole, like, did he, like, try to kill Thor, and then it turned out he didn't, and that was all part of the plan, he still was doing his goal of getting the throne. Like, throughout all of that, faking his death and everything. They were true to the character, he was useful, and I did like the banter between him and Thor in that Dark Elf ship. That was kind of funny. It's like, well,
Go ahead.
Oh, he cut me off. Like his grandfather's head.
Tony, what were your thoughts on?
Oh, great. I'm so glad that you were able to get that comment.
Tony, what were your thoughts on Loki in The Dark World?
The character I mentioned before that keeps this film from being terrible is Loki. He's the fucking man. And if they didn't have that in the script beforehand and they did try to shoehorn him in there, thank God, because he saved it. He is, without a doubt, the most interesting character. He's the most charismatic one, the funniest one. Anything that's supposed to be from any of the other characters, except for, I guess, the heroism of Thor, you can see in Loki far better. Like, he's smarter than Selvig. He's funnier than Darcy, and I don't even know the fucking name of her intern.
Tom or something?
Good old Chet. What's her... Jane is just a pain in the ass the entire time. So, if you want to get an interesting female character, you get Sif. But, as far as, like, a pairing on screen, anytime that you've got Jane and Thor together, I don't really care, but when you've got Loki and Thor together, they hit it off. Like, there's more chemistry between those two than between the one he's supposed to be in love with. And I gotta blame writing and Natalie Portman on that one. I love Natalie Portman, but she seemed like she had absolutely no reason to get into this movie. She wanted to quit and stuff. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, Tom Hiddleston loves this shit. And you can tell that he's having a ton of fun. Whether it's that cameo with the Captain America thing, building up to all that kind of stuff, or playing both sides, or he is, without a doubt, the gem of this film.
Just to give you a few facts on Thor the Dark World, the runtime is 112 minutes. It was released in the United States on November 8th, 2013, and everywhere else, October 22nd, 2013, because, again, Walt Disney hates us. The budget is $170 million, and it grossed $644.8 million. So not as successful as Iron Man, but, you know, there's a lot of people who walked out better taste in Iron Man 3, and it's Thor. I don't know if you're going to pull as many people with Thor as you could with, like, an Iron Man. That being said, this is now the second film in Phase 2. Did it successfully start kicking and ramping up for what our next Avengers movie would be? Tony, we'll start with you.
Nope. It definitely fell short. Age of Ultron is, it's not a Asgardian kind of threat like we did in the first one, so that's understandable. But there should have been something more with the Infinity Stones. There should have been something with Thanos. There should have been maybe some kind of a reference to what the state of the Tesseract is. Like, they really kind of glossed over a lot of that. And really, they spent more time referencing the fact that the Avengers had happened than building up something toward the future all that much. The only thing that really you can say does set it up is the fact that the Ether is in it, and that is one of the Infinity Stones, so of course it's not like they completely neglected it, but if you take out that one scene where Odin is explaining that the Infinity Stones are, this predates the universe kind of a thing, then you really have nothing to go by. You have another random MacGuffin and another blah villain, and that's about it. Like, they could have done a lot more.
Sam, how do you feel that Thor fit into the whole realm of Phase 2? Did it kick off? Did it more so put over the Guardians was coming? What are your thoughts?
I would say the analogy of, how like in cartoons when you strike the match and you like light up the gunpowder and like you see that trail until it blows up the barrel. Iron Man 3 was the first match that didn't work. Thor the Dark World is like the one that like, yeah, hey, I lit it. But you haven't actually like lit the gunpowder yet. Like, it was better than Iron Man 3. It finally started to kick off this sense of higher stakes than the first one. And even though I liked the movie, like, I had problems with it. It could have been better, but I liked it. The threat, even though it was elevated, still didn't make sense to me in a new connected universe, where we're now in a post-Avengers universe, and Iron Man doesn't think to call anybody for help. Thor didn't think to call anybody for help. Like, and I know, like, they had that thing with Darcy, like, S.H.I.E.L.D's not answering. Call Iron Man! Like, why do you need S.H.I.E.L.D. to help you? Call one of the Avengers. Call the Avengers. Like, at least with Captain America the Winter Soldier, like, that entire movie took place in, like, 3 days. So there's too much shit going on for them to, like, get any help. This one, though, I feel like if the entire universe is going to be plunged into darkness, maybe Tony Stark gives a shit about that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Iron
like,
Man 3 is a personal threat. Thor: The Dark World is the universe. Like,
right. And it was all on Thor and his friends to save it. So that would just be my grief with it.
So, Sam, we're going to stick with you. High point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10 on Thor: The Dark World.
Huh. Low point would be any time I saw Jane on screen. That would just be the low point. The high point? Probably the final fight with Malekith. I did like that, in the fight in London. Final thoughts just being, I liked this one more than the first Thor. I liked it more than Iron Man 3, but there was too much of what could have been for me to love this movie. So if I'm going to rank the movie, I saved the list from the last 4 Real Movie Club. So I gave Thor a 7 out of 10. So I'm going to give Thor: The Dark World a 7.5 out of 10.
Tony.
Did you hear my dog in the background?
Oh, yeah.
hey, fuck you, I like that movie.
Sony, high point, low point, final thoughts, and ranking 1 to 10 on Thor: The Dark World.
High point. There's 2 high points to this film. One of them's a stupid one, and one of them's just amazing. The stupid one, this is like, it's pretty bad when you can say that this is a high point. When Thor puts Mjolnir on the fucking coat rack.
Yeah.
That's like, that's funny. That's like a high point in the middle of this crappy film. But the other high point, which is on a more serious kind of note and stuff, Loki's fake death. I liked how they did that. I liked how he, not only like that he faked his death, where that could be the reason why Thor is not looking for him and trying to track him back down and stuff like that, but I like how you got this like real sense of feeling that he's legitimately sorry when he is apologizing to Thor. Like, that's the best acted scene in the entire thing, where he's just, you know, I'm sorry, and like I sacrificed myself for you because you still are my brother and stuff. And the only downside to that is part of me was thinking, damn, that would have been a good way to end Ragnarok. Like, Loki sacrifices himself, and that's kind of like his redemption, sort of. I mean, you can't be redeemed at this point, but that was good. That was, you know, if they could have made the whole film on par or close to that kind of stuff, it would have been good. But instead, they had my low point of this whole thing, naked Selvig. Selvig is a character I've lauded, I'm not lauded, I've been just so against, because in the first film, okay, he's kind of shoehorned in there a little bit. He's just a guy that explains a lot of the plot, and he's just, well, I know Jane. Why do you know Jane? Like, what's the point in you being in here? Jane can talk. She can explain everything. So they wanted the character for some reason, and they liked the character enough to make him a forefront kind of person in Avengers. Didn't need to be there at all. But in this one, do you need to go for the cheap laugh of old guys naked? And they bring it up, like, repeatedly. I get it. You think it's funny if an old dude's naked. I don't. Can you do, like, one joke of that and get it away? And, oh, man, that was embarrassing for Marvel. You might not have, like, all the laughs work out each time, but at least try. The only thing that they didn't do with Naked Selvig that would have made it even worse, and they probably had this and deleted the scene, is if he just, like, farts a bunch of time. Farts are funny, but it's a cheap laugh, you know? I gotta give this a generous 5 out of 10.
One thing we actually didn't touch on, though, that actually I'm going to classify under my high points.
The grandfather line?
The end credit scene.
Oh, the collector?
I love the collector scene. The whole 1 down, 5 to go.
That doesn't make any sense, though, at the same time, because they're like, well, we'll just give you an Infinity Stone. You don't seem creepy.
Well, they trust him, because his collection is secure.
Oh, the fuck would you trust this dude? Look at him.
Well, who else are they gonna trust, though? Because, like they said, they don't want to keep 2 Infinity Stones in the same place. So where else can you lock down an Infinity Stone? The collector's collection.
Good point. Well, there you have it. That's Thor: The Dark World, and what seems to be the downward slope of the roller coaster that is Marvel. So stay tuned here on YouTube as we start climbing back up the roller coaster to another high point in Phase 2 with Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yes.